I'm a believer that when your kids get to middle school, they can start to learn about investments. And what we've chosen to do is create a program where we have financial literacy that we start working with kids at age 5, and that's when we started working with our girls. There basically is a kind of a simple concept of give, save, spend. So they have their allowance. There's a portion of it that they are giving away to charity. In our kids' cases, they give 10% to charity. Of the remaining, they have half that they can spend and half that they can save. And on the saving side, we've had a bank account at Young Americans Bank that they've contributed to. On the spending side, they have always gotten to make the decisions for themselves. We obviously weigh in, but they've earned that money and they're able to make that decision. On the give side, at the end of the year, we've always sat down and with a smaller amount with the younger kids, we talk about what they're interested in. It might be horses, it might be babies. Those are two prominent things in our family. We identify a cause. We typically, as a family, will go and volunteer time at one of those organizations. We'll take either some toys to a children's hospital or some clothes to a precious child or one of those programs. But we'll volunteer with our time and our resources, and the girls will actually be able to give a check. Then as the girls start to get older, as the kids start to get older, they're able to eventually start having their own jobs, and the money becomes more significant. We still maintain those 3 buckets, but what we've done is say that when we get to middle school, so 7th grade was our threshold, that the save side, the girls can choose to put it into an investment account. And we use a NUTMA account, a Uniform Transfer to Minors account, and whatever they put into the account, we match. And in that case, because it's a small amount now, the girls have been able to put $500 in, so we've matched that 10 times. So we'll put $5,000 in. And then we'll sit down and say, okay, what is it that we're trying to achieve? So we get to start with real money. The girls have no access to it, obviously, at this point. But we get to talk about, okay, what are investments? What is risk? What kind of returns do bonds generate? What does cash generate? What do stocks generate? And how do we think about diversification? Are there individual companies that you really like? My girls like Starbucks and Apple. We talk about the difference between investing in single stocks versus investing in a more broadly diversified strategy. And we allow them to make their own decisions. So my daughters, one of them has chosen to employ, for the most part, a fairly broadly diversified, very low cost kind of an index approach with a couple stocks being Apple and Starbucks. The other daughter says, going through the exercises, she's very into economics and finance. She says, I'm going to do all of my investments through that more diversified approach. So they're in control of these, what I would call trading wheel accounts. They're totally into it. So we do full quarterly reviews. We sit down, we talk about what the markets have done. We talk about interest rates. They have, some bonds in their portfolio. These are tiny little portfolios, but it's creating interest. And that interest is allowing them to start to ask questions, to feel like they're engaged in a part of that conversation. Now, as they get older, they're going to have trusts that they're beneficiaries of. And those trusts, they're eventually going to be able to have a seat at the table and to be able to learn about what those trusts do, how they're distributed, how they're invested. Now, their input into those investment decisions will be limited because it's not something that they're in complete control of, but they will always have the ability with their own assets that they're contributing towards their investment accounts to be able to have that influence over. We'll talk about what kinds of trade-offs you're potentially making. So if you have an ESG focus, environmental social governance, or impact investment focus, or it's something you don't want to participate in petroleum types of investments, you'd rather be renewables. Well, those are all things that are absolutely valid, and they are expressing an interest in being engaged with that process. And to me, that's gold, that's invaluable. And so I think that's really something that I embrace and look at as an opportunity for dialogue and to continue to help them down the path of developing more and more knowledge and interest and tools for what is going to serve them very well in the future.